It was news many people needed to hear before the shareholders meeting. Bob Iger has literally destroyed the Walt Disney Company, at least when it comes to Disney Plus and Hulu. Folks, what if we told you that under Bob Iger, Disney Plus is currently $30 billion in the hole? Hello folks, welcome back to the Pro Channel, the place where we tell stuff that you might not hear anywhere else, connecting the dots so that you stay ahead of the culture curve. Explaining entertainment is the job. Jonas J. Campbell joins with us. And Jonas, we had a huge show for the Pro Show Live earlier today. We thought we were done. And then something happened and we had to make an original video for tonight. This one is huge, folks. Don't go anywhere. Jonas, go ahead and pull up the chart on the screen and let's get straight into this, folks. As we dive in, click the like button because this needs to be shared out with everybody. And as we go through this is an article by Caroline Reed over on Forbes. We wish this had come out before the shareholders meeting. It probably would have made a major difference in how people perceived Bob Iger. That it did not is something that we should all ponder about why. But let's get into the article because now we have it. This is a huge article. We're starting in the middle. It says, in order to pacify disgruntled shareholders, Disney had to cut $7.5 billion of costs, including a lot of the exclusive streaming content it had commissioned. It's talking about here how Disney Plus had fallen into absolute chaos. Despite this, Disney Plus has burned up more than $11.4 billion of operating losses since it was launched. Jonas, when was it launched?
2019, end of 2019.
5 years, $11.4 billion in the hole. Folks, we'll tell you how we get to $30 billion in just a moment. It isn't forecast to even make a profit until the end of the year. It would have been so easy to prevent this from happening. Jonas, show us the chart, please, and explain that.
Oh, here we go. This is Disney's direct-to-consumer segment revenue and operating loss for each quarter. So each one of these is a quarter worth of losses. As we see, we have a teeny $2 billion right here in Q1 of 2020, 2.5, 2.7, 3.3, all the way up here to $6.1 billion in Q1 of 2024. Disney has made a loss on its direct-to-consumer division in every quarter since 2020.
Now, folks out there may be saying, well, now, wait a minute. If the blue line, which is revenue, keeps going up, that's great, isn't it? And the red, what is that? Why would it still be there? Well, that's because expenses continue to outstrip revenue. Now, how is this possible, folks? What's going on here? Well, because Disney has bought Hulu and because DTC includes ESPN. So this is not just Disney Plus anymore. And so that's why those expenses are mounting and mounting. Jonas, jump us to the point that really matters here with Bob Iger and what he has done to this company. And folks, as Jonas is taking us to that location in this article, let's explain real quick how it is that we arrive at $30 billion in the hole for Disney Plus. It is because what we have found out is that Disney plans to make Disney Plus profitable by duct taping Hulu to it. And Hulu is not free. Jonas, what's the total spend you expect Disney to finish paying off to fully acquire Hulu?
Well, it would be easy to say it's $8.6 billion, but that's for the last remaining share and only a down payment on the last remaining share of Hulu. That is the share held by NBC Universal, otherwise known as Comcast. That payment is probably going to end up being higher. The other third was purchased in the Fox acquisition, and if it's equal in value right now, we're talking about $16 billion for those 2/3 of Hulu, not counting what Hulu has spent to pay out someone else who was involved at the 10% level some time ago. So if we're calculating here, easily $16 billion added on to that 11.4 in losses that they have already incurred. That's losses that are not covered by revenue. We also have the fact that they purchased BAMTech back in the day in order to build the Disney Plus engine on top of it. So very easily, very conservatively, we're saying that it's probably more like $30 billion that they have spent here in order to put together Disney Plus as it stands right now as the integrated Disney duo. And that's not even That's before we even get to ESPN Plus and the fact that that thing is still a massive loser for the company.
Now, folks, we're going to explain why it really, really matters that Disney is at least in the whole $30 billion on Disney Plus. We'll get there in just a moment. It's going to shock you, honestly. But first, we need to identify who is to blame here. So let's read this. Instead of being satisfied with its spell-binding performance, talking about the performance under Bob Chapek during the pandemic when Disney Plus subscribers exploded, Disney doubled down and commissioned dedicated Disney Plus shows and movies, spending $33 billion on content in 2022 alone. Jonah's question, if you spend that amount of money in 2022, when was it greenlit?
I would say probably 2 to 3 years beforehand, at least.
Just checking. Driven by ego. In a bid to attract more subscribers than Netflix, Disney upped the ante, and it didn't pay off. Pretty much everything that could go wrong for Disney did go wrong. Taxes soared as government sought to claw back the massive furlough payments made during the pandemic. At the same time, inflation surged due to the war in Ukraine and local factors such as Brexit in the United Kingdom. Meanwhile, consumers were still wary of returning to cinemas due to the risk of catching COVID. However, they weren't stuck indoors anymore, so they had less of a need for streaming subscriptions and less money to pay for them. This perfect storm was magnified for Disney because its flagship Marvel franchise has an interconnected storyline across more than 40 shows and movies. It means that if fans miss one of them, they may be more reluctant to watch the next for fear they won't understand it. This led to Disney having to put disclaimers at the start of some of the shows saying that prior knowledge was not required. But by that time was necessary. Marvel was fighting a losing battle. The content deluge cost Disney dearly, both financially and in its quest to dethrone Netflix, something now, folks, no one believes is possible. The number of Disney Plus subscribers has fallen from a high of 164.2 million in September of 2022 to 149.6 million at the end of last year, whereas Netflix has almost doubled at 260 million. Meanwhile, Disney's streaming losses ballooned, driving down its stock price by more than 40% from its peak of 201 in March of 2021 under Bob Chapek. There's the roller coaster ride you need to see. Jonas, one more paragraph down, and folks, then we'll get to the big huzzah and light bulb that happens. Chapek, Bob Chapek, remember, tossed out, no good. He's the cause of everything, according to Bob Iger. Bob Chapek had already attempted to stem the red ink by launching a cheaper ad-supported Disney Plus subscription tier and even offered subscribers discounts on hotels at Walt Disney World in Florida. It wasn't enough to save his job. And then it goes on to talk about what Iger has said on the Squawk Box. But Jonas, what is clear here, and if you'll scroll back up to that chart, please, what is clear here, Jonas, is that Bob Iger is the culprit behind all of this. Bob Iger is the one who greenlit this. Bob Chapek had uninterrupted about 6 months of actual leadership as the CEO of Disney, about 8 to 11 months, depending on how you want to measure it, of being in the seat. But again, he was being attacked from every side by a shadow campaign to put Bob Iger back. And by the way, that shadow campaign was based on throwing the company into politics in Florida, which ultimately cost it. By the way, they just lost in the last week, finally. Cost them about $1 trillion over a century. So another Iger vanity project there. But Bob Iger is the one who's done all this. And then Chapek was the whipping boy who was tossed out because only Bob Iger can fix this. Jonas, before we get into commentary on it, I would just like to give you a comparison. And folks out there, if you are a shareholder of Disney, you might be very interested in this. When we talk about $30 billion over 5 years, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? Well, take a look at this. It's an article on Florida politics by Gabrielle Rousson. It says Disney World is suing over its property taxes, arguing they're excessive. What in the world does this have to do? Oh. Orange County assessed Epcot's value at $646.2 million, while Hollywood Studios was $526.4 million, and Animal Kingdom was $426.2 million. That's the assessment of their value by the tax assessor. And Disney says, Jonas, that's too high. Disney says that's not their value. Now, why does that matter? Well, because Disney World is the crown jewel of Disney's profit-generating machine of Disney parks and experiences. Jonas, think about this. If we add those values together and add Magic Kingdom into it, We're easily going to be under, by orders of magnitude, under $5 billion.
Oh my, yes.
In 5 years, folks, in 5 years, the Walt Disney Company generated $30 billion of negative losses on Disney Plus alone. Now that's, if we look at the math, according to what Disney is arguing legally, saying that those tax assessments are too high, that is 6 times at least, and that is ultra generous. 6 times greater losses than if Walt Disney World somehow were tossed out into the ocean and sank, which is 40 square miles of vacation real estate.
Yeah.
In premium Sunshine State.
This is fascinating. Forgive me for my silence during a lot of this. I'm just kind of dumbfounded at this point. We kind of knew that there were billions of dollars in losses. I just assumed that there was more revenue coming for Disney Plus somewhere in here, to the point where we were all very iffy about pointing out the $11 billion in losses from Disney. That's after you subtract out the revenue that Disney Plus has generated, which is not that much. So that means that even in the most conservative of estimates here, that they would still have to generate $11 billion over many, many years in order to make Disney Plus worth it, not counting the fact that they're going to merge it with Hulu, not counting the fact that they had to pay billions of dollars in order to purchase Hulu, not counting the billions of dollars that were put into Disney Plus before Q1 of 2020, which for Disney is November of 2019 because of their fiscal calendar. Also, I don't think even by that property assessment, if we doubled the value of the Disney properties, if we quadrupled the value of the Disney properties there, this would still be ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. But they had to own DTC because they said they don't have a direct relationship with their customers. And that is the problem here, that Disney had to go through the cable companies. So what do? You become the cable companies. Obviously, this is going to be a great strategy for the company to be synonymous with cable long term. All those great emotions that people have about a Comcast or a Spectrum or a Brightline or whatever, a Time Warner, they want Disney to be respected the way that people think of their cable provider. Great job, Bob, on the brand recognition of the Disney brand, and the fact that you have sunk more than $12 billion into all of this garbage. I'm sorry, I'm just ranty at this point. I think that this is so fiscally irresponsible, and they want to act like this is a bright and shiny thing. They want to act like this is a great thing for the company that they now have Disney Plus. Even Josh D'Amaro in this article for CNBC, and by the way, we do know Disney people watch this channel. Are you aware that Josh D'Amaro is over there on CNBC on their website? An article by Sarah Whitten pointing out that the parks are accounting for 70% of the actual income of the entire company, and that Disney,
by the way, Jonas,
is a sliver of that.
If Disney World is 30%, and you assume the cruise lines are a huge chunk of that as well, it also means that Disney's profit is basically Disney World and cruises, and all the rest is being subsidized essentially by Disney World and cruises. Now, Disneyland contributes a little bit, Disneyland Paris contributes a little bit, but really, this is a company that is largely driven by Disney World and cruises, and everything else is Bob Iger piddling away the successes of those to play around and mess around with trying to find success. Jonas, what would this, if we had found out, if this article had come out 2 weeks ago, if we had found out that Disney Plus is $30 billion in the hole, and folks, if you take umbrage with that, if you say, no, Pro, that's not fair. Hulu, you can't put that on Disney Plus. Oh, yes, I can, because they are strapping Hulu, they already have, into Disney Plus and integrating it to the point the lines are blurred. And that is the selling point for Disney Plus in North America. And the catalog of Hulu is now merging with Disney Plus, right? So I'm sorry, that's part of Disney Plus now. You don't get to be one of the big tab categories inside Disney Plus, but you're not part of Disney Plus. That's not how that works. So Hulu is merged with Disney Plus now, so that cost gets called into it. Jonas, what would have happened if 2 weeks ago the whole world, including retail shareholders, including the institutional investors, had found out, hey, we're $30 billion in the negative, and we're going to try and make the marquee flash if we make a single penny of profit in a quarter. What would this have done to that shareholder vote versus what we've seen?
Well, I think it would have swayed even more. There are rumors that that even the state of Florida pension fund, they withheld for Lagomasino and Froman, but they still withheld for Peltz and Rasulo at the same time. I wonder if that would have given Peltz the biggest boost that he would need here to say that the future of the company is Disney Plus. I think they're trying to back away from that now. That's how close they are to admitting that Disney Plus is not the solution for everything. They've already cut all the programming on Disney Plus. I get it. The Acolyte was going to be coming out soon, but Moana, the Moana TV series that they're now retrofitting into making it a movie in under 6 months, that was in order to move it off of Disney Plus's books more than it was a move to put a movie in theaters at this on this slot that they weren't sure what they were going to put there. You know what probably actually happened there? They looked at what they had. They realized it didn't have a brand that they liked attached to it, and they pushed it off because the creative engine is broken at the Walt Disney Company. On top of the fact that it is probably Disney Plus that ruined that creative engine for the Walt Disney Company. So even if we're just talking about the billions of dollars that they have spent on this, the damage that has been done to the culture of the company, the brands that the company owns, which you could argue at this point is their strongest asset, the damage that has been done here, Disney Plus is the millstone around the neck of the company, or it's just making that millstone visible. Take your pick.
Jonas, how many theme parks could you build with $30 billion?
Well, I think Epic Universe is under 2, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm just thinking here, Jonas.
That's how much they spend on just one Galaxy's Edge.
Epic Universe is the biggest theme park in North America when it's finished. I'm just thinking, if you put Disney money on this, how much Disney likes to spend? $4 billion. I make it $5 billion. 6 theme parks, and I'll guarantee you they'd be generating income. Jonas, if Disney Plus and Hulu together now, right? Because they're the same thing. So if they make $100 million in profit every single quarter, which I think is just good luck. But if they do it, Jonas, do you know how many quarters? This is really easy math. Do you know how many quarters it's going to take them to dig out of the hole they're currently in?
You know what? I'm actually going to pass because I'm a good accountant, so that means I plug it into Excel, but I don't have Excel open right now.
300 quarters to get out of this hole that they are in. So when I think back to Bob Iger, smiling and all that during Squawk Box recently when he was talking about reaching profit margins and da-da-da-da-da with Disney Plus, and now I know that they're $30 billion in the hole, and that's what they consider to be fiduciarily responsible. Fiduciarily responsible. There we go, folks. I'll stumble it out of my mouth. It's just kind of gross. It's just really, really gross. And the idea that Bob Chapek was the fall guy and all this is Iger. This is Bob Iger. This is a sycophantic board of Bob Iger approving this. And I'm sorry, this should have been out 2 weeks ago. It should have been out 2 weeks ago. And every shareholder out there should know this. $30 billion at minimum spent on Disney Plus, and you still haven't made a profit. And you're not going to make a profit anywhere close to getting out of this hole anytime soon. Jonas, final thoughts.
I fully agree with you. And I think the immeasurable damage that has been done to the company through Disney Plus is also there. I would love to see actual numbers on what the content that was made for Disney Plus, just under those brands, just under Disney, Pixar, Lucasfilm, and Marvel, and how much that actually makes for the company on Disney Plus. You can break that out by ad revenue. You can break that out by who actually watches a majority of that content. But of course you can't, because most of those people are actually watching Bluey, which is not even made by the Disney company. And I think we all know the reason why people are watching something that is not made by Disney on Disney's streaming service right now.
Bluey's worth more than Marvel and Star Wars combined. We got a video coming out on that later this week, folks. It's amazing.
No question in my mind. No question in my mind at all on that statement.
But $30 billion down, folks, that is the generous minimum. And no company can lose $30 billion in 5 years and attempt to show that it made a penny by the end of this quarter and that be sufficient. There's no way, and it's about time shareholders knew about this. It's about time Disney fans knew about this. Talking about not sustainable, this is not sustainable. And the idea that a man who controlled the company for less than a year greenlit all of it and did all of it, no. This is Bob Iger. This is the man destroying Disney. Folks, if you enjoy content like this, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms, it's the notification bell. Drop a comment down below, let us know your thoughts. Folks, don't forget that we've got the Pro Show Live coming to you Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. But even before that, that Park Place Live will be going on at noon Eastern this Thursday. Jonas, what do you got coming up?
Oh, well, there is so much news coming out of the Walt Disney Company. We may cover a little bit more about this Caroline Reed article. She has been hitting it hard over there. She even talked about the financials of Disneyland Paris and why Jay Rasulo is actually the reason that is profitable right now. Of course, Robert Downey Jr. has been saying some amazing things that we would like to talk about here. And of course, we've got our panel of experts. Always glad to talk about everything going on with theme parks, but Disney's just soaking up all of that oxygen in the room.
There you go, folks. All kinds of content to cover. We had not planned on doing a video this evening that was original of this nature, but by golly, when we saw this and we connected the dots, we knew you all need to know this. Everyone needs to know this. Everybody who has any interest, anything with Disney, you need to know this because nobody else is saying this yet, and that's why it's an exclusive as we connect the dots and go even beyond what Forbes is saying, but we wish Forbes had been saying it about 2 weeks ago. No criticism at all of Caroline Reed, though, folks. None.
Oh, she's doing
whatsoever.
Fantastic work, absolutely.
And we love her content. All right, folks, we are out for today. We will see you tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time each and every day. Wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Wilton, what are you doing?
Well, word on the street is the culture war has officially made it to the doorstep of that Park Place. And I realize Jonas has no one there who loves him. So I thought I should go and protect them.
Yeah, okay. That's not, how you do this, right?
Do what? Fight? Don't worry, Floral. I will not be intimidated by a criminal threat.
Threat? Wilton, don't be ridiculous.
What does it matter to me? I have only one life to lose.
I mean, I totally expected you to die walking into traffic, but,
They may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom!
Okay, just stop. This is just nonsense. You already have one of the easiest and most effective tools and weapons at your fingertips.
My axe?
No. The truth. Stay smart and ready to tell and share the truth by keeping up to date with WDW Pro, that Park Place, as well as Valiant Renegade.
And Jonas? I mean, he does things with Vash, and that's not very reassuring. That's like putting two helpless chipmunks into a piranha pond.
That's neither true nor accurate. Unlike the team from that Park Place.
Sue me.
Ugh.